What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is Kevin with Optimized Essentials, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking to you about how semen retention will increase your testosterone. Now, if you're a guy watching this and you don't feel like you're living up to your potential as a man, or you don't feel as masculine as you could be, then there's a very, very good chance that your hormones are off. You do not have high levels of testosterone, which is why so many guys are looking towards testosterone replacement therapy, TRT, right? Trying to take steroids because they don't feel like they can live up to this image of the guys that they see online, these jacked bodybuilders. But I'm going to present to you in today's video an alternative, a more natural route for the guy who's not willing, who's not scared of putting in the work, the sacrifice that it takes to become a high value man, a man who is of high caliber, who has high levels of vigor and vitality, who exemplify true masculine virtue, not by going the short route of injecting yourself with, artificial shit or taking a bunch of steroids. Not that route, okay? The route I'm talking about is basics, good diet, discipline, training, restraining yourself from constantly ejaculating so that you have more vigor and vitality in your body, and just doing things properly, okay? But without further ado, let's get right into the video. I want to share with you some research studies that kind of support the concept of NoFap and semen retention, because I know there's a lot of nerds out there where it's going to be like, NoFap is bullshit. Masturbating is good for you. It's good for your prostate, or it doesn't. There's no research that shows any benefits. There isn't much, okay? But I did pick out some stuff that talks about testosterone so that we can understand what testosterone does in your body. I picked out some that, have studied people who've abstained. So there's a lot to go over, okay? So do your best to focus. This video might be a decent amount of time. I would say maybe at least half an hour, 40 minutes, who knows, however long it goes. So make sure you do your best to focus, breathe, because sometimes when I read this article or these research studies, your brain is going to go somewhere else, or you won't be able to focus, or you won't be able to read. I'll do my best to post some pictures up so that you can read with me and not get fucking dazed off. Do your best to finish this video, okay? There's going to be a lot of powerful content sprinkled throughout, so all it takes is like one or two gold nuggets or gems that really make a new connection in your brain so that you either get inspired or you elevate your mind, you elevate your consciousness so that you can become a better version of yourself, okay? So I'm going to be talking about my experience. I'm going to read you some research, and then we're going to recap on everything and show you, why this path right here is the way to go, okay? So before I go into the first research study, I want you to know that the best research, I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, is yourself, okay? The best research is anecdotal evidence, or anecdotal research, meaning the best research that you can do is the research that you do on yourself. Now, I'll back this up with some claims, okay, or some evidence, okay? Let's say there's research that comes out and says pineapples are good for you. All right, pineapples have a lot of vitamin C, and they'll do XYZ for your hormones, or let's say they boost your testosterone, right? Or a certain vegetable or certain food boosts your testosterone, or there's a certain food that does this for your body, gives you a certain benefit. That's what the research says, right? But let's say when you eat pineapples, you get an allergic reaction, you get a rash, you get a breakout, right? So it doesn't matter how good the research is if it does not hold true in your experience. Research comes from people's experience. They come up with a hypothesis of what this is going to do if I do this, or they come up with the theory that X causes Y, or that, this is a byproduct of this. And what do? They test it. They put it through the scientific method. So what I'm trying to share with you here is I could read you this research, but if it doesn't hold true in your experience, which, by the way, I highly fucking doubt it. If you do NoFap and semen retention properly, you're not going to experience a benefit. Like if you work out, you're going to feel good. If you work out, you're going to get in shape. It's like if you do this, you'll get this result. So first, I highly doubt that. But if something does not hold true in your experience, it doesn't matter what the fucking research says, okay? So fuck all these nerds online who are like, there's no research. Bro, shut the fuck up and listen. Okay. So the first thing that came to my mind when I did NoFap and Semen Retention was I wanted to understand testosterone. Okay. I wanted to understand male hormones. And I already know, right? I've tested my hormones before, which we'll go into, but I already know what high levels of testosterone feels like in my body. Okay. I already know when I have hormones, male hormones that are peaking. Okay. And I'll give you some examples. When I first tested my hormones earlier this year, I was at about 700, to be exact, 743 nanograms per deciliter. Okay. Total testosterone, not free. I don't know what my free is, but here's my theory. Okay. People say it doesn't matter. It's not about your total. It's about your free. Well, this is where you can do research or try and figure this shit out on your own. Because when I looked into it, a lot of people say it's about your free testosterone, right? You have your total and you have your free. Your free is what determines, what's a true indicator of whether or not you have optimal levels of hormones. But here's my theory, okay? And you can look, I don't know if you can look this up because I tried looking it up and I couldn't really find any research. But your free or your total determines how much free gets liberated. Meaning this is like your reserve. This is like your energy reserve, your testosterone reserve. You have a total amount of testosterone. Depending on how high this is, how much free testosterone gets liberated from this to be used throughout the day for different activities, etc. Okay. But the shit that I read online is like, oh, total is not a good indicator of your testosterone. It's free. But I can assure you, I can almost guarantee it that there isn't a flip scenario, meaning there is no way you can have low levels of total testosterone and have high levels of free. Okay. If you have low levels of total testosterone, there is a very, very, very good chance you have a very low level of free. Because how can you have a lot of free testosterone when your total testosterone isn't there, right? So it's good to look at total and free, meaning how much your body can use at a certain time. But again, my theory is that depending on the environment, depending on the situation, depending on the circumstance you're in, maybe you're in a competition, maybe a beautiful girl shows up, or maybe you need to exercise your masculinity, then your body can tap into the total testosterone and take out a lot of free testosterone to use throughout the system. Now, you can look into this yourself. This is just my theory, but what I'm trying to say here is this. When I took my testosterone test, I had about 743, right? So I know what high testosterone feels like when I do certain things. For example, when I took my test, I wasn't feeling like I'm super high, but that's already a decent amount. Not many guys are at 700 something nanograms per deciliter, right? So when I take a natural testosterone booster like Tongkat Ali, which I've experimented with, testosterone or Fedosia agrestis, I use my own body as an experiment, right? I take it in and then I feel the effects. Okay, what is this doing to my body? I feel more vigor. I feel more vitality. I feel sharper, mental clarity. I feel more aggression. Like, I want to fuck something up, right? I get this like primal drive. It's not insane, but I would say it boosts my testosterone or my male aggression by maybe 20%, 10 to 20%, right? So if I extrapolate that out, so I know that my baseline testosterone, let's say, is hovering around 700. So when I take a testosterone booster or when I have high levels of testosterone, if I feel this way at 700, then there's a very good chance that when I take these boosters and when I'm in high testosterone, I'm either at 800 or 900. Okay. I don't know what my free is. Again, sometime I'll take it, but let's just play this hypothetical thing, right? Let's say when I take testosterone boosters or when I do the activities that I'm about to share with you, it levels up to about 800, 900, right? And if I'm really charged up and I'm really aggressive, and I'm really dominant, then I'm going to assume that I'm at like 1,000 or over, okay? So depending on what I'm doing, my testosterone will be boosted by 100, 200, maybe even 300 nanograms per deciliter, okay? Now, I also write here that because I know what higher levels of male hormones feel like when I take testosterone boosters, or I already knew what this feels like before I took it, because every time I work out very hard, like I'm doing heavy deadlifts, like 3 plates, 4 plates, right? Before I stopped doing heavy, but when I would do like my heaviest deadlifts, like for reps, like 3 sets of 8, of 315 pounds, 3 plates. That's not a lot for some people, but I do really clean, strict form, like Romanian deadlifts with my 3 plates. Not many guys can do that, okay? And I'm talking about like clean form, like 3-second tempos going down and then like 2-second tempos coming up, controlling the weight. And all my muscles are being like ripped apart. And the next day I'm sore as a motherfucker. 3 sets of 8, right? The next day I will feel the highest levels of testosterone, meaning if I sleep well and I eat like a high quality steak, or I eat some pasture raised grass fed animals and I get the hormones into my body, because your male hormones, testosterone, is based off of your nutrients, right? And it's also based off of your sleep and how hard you train. So when I do that trifecta of train hard as a stimulus, feed my body correctly, and then get to sleep, and when you sleep, most of your male hormones are produced during sleep. When I do this properly, I can feel, right, at my highest pinnacle of masculinity, meaning I'm my most aggressive, I'm most assertive, my most dominant, right, which we'll break down a little bit. So I already know, okay, when I do this behavior, I feel this way, okay? So I have something to measure in my mind. So I don't have like physical numbers that I'll write down like these fucking nerds, but in my mind, I'm taking a note of my behaviors, okay? It's like I feel most like a man once I've lifted fucking heavy, I've gotten enough sleep, and I've also eaten some high quality animal products. Okay, so check. This is when I feel the peak masculinity, meaning there's nothing else in my life that makes me feel the way this makes me feel. So once I know that, and then I take testosterone boosters, and it gives me a similar experience, meaning I know what I feel like when I lift heavy. Now I know what I feel like when I take testosterone boosters. And it's like, yes, testosterone boosters do work if everything else is on point. But what I'm trying to share with you here is this. It's a long point to go around. We're going to talk about semen retention, I know. Is you have to really pay attention to your mood, your body, the way you feel, your behavior, your characteristics, and you have to take mental note of that and know what foods influence that, what activities influence that, what people, because girls will influence your testosterone level, as I will share in future videos, more research. But you have to understand what activities, what things influence my testosterone, what things influence my male hormones, okay? And once you have that in point, then everything else that you do will become like a research study, okay? So without further ado, let's wrap up with this first point and let's go over some research, okay? So as I mentioned before, just to do a little recap, I know how I feel when my testosterone levels are peaking. And I know I confirm this when I take natural testosterone boosters. So I have all these reference points of what high testosterone feels like. Now I want to read to you, right, a research study that talks about, right here, serum testosterone level, a research on the relationship between ejaculation and serum testosterone level in men. Now this is the most famous and most referenced research, but it's been retracted, okay? And I'm still gonna read it, but my theory, again, a theory for y'all you fucking nerds, is that this got a lot of flack. A lot of people said, oh, this isn't significant research. And then maybe a lot of people attacked the authors in China. And then just recently in about 2021, they decided to retract this research study, because this was like the only research that was ever done on masturbation and NoFap and whatnot. And I think a lot of guys, a lot of medical people decided to attack it, because what does medical field want you to believe? They want you to believe that masturbating regularly is healthy for your prostate. I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying, yes, to an extent it is, because your prostate needs to be exercised the same way your heart needs to be exercised. Now, if you haven't watched my video on the dangers of celibacy or how NoFap and Semen Retention will potentially cause prostate cancer, this guy named Paul Rodney Turner expressed himself very articulately in his article that if you do it incorrectly, or if you're doing celibacy incorrectly, meaning if you're abstaining from sex and you're not pumping your prostate somehow, either through sex, through breathing, through working out, through breath work, right? If you're not doing these practices to stimulate your prostate, then toxins and stagnant energy can eventually coagulate there and cause potentially prostate cancer. So yes, there is some validity to that, right? But this was the only research that at the time, because this was published a long time ago, that actually tested people who 28 volunteers to be exact, we'll read this shortly, and found that within a week, their testosterone boosted. Okay, so let's read this. The purpose of this study is to gain an understanding of the relationship between ejaculation and serum testosterone level in men. The serum testosterone concentrations of 28 volunteers were investigated daily during abstinence periods after ejaculation for 2 phases. The authors found that the fluctuations of testosterone levels from the 2nd to the 5th day of abstinence were minimal. On the 7th day of abstinence, however, a clear peak of serum testosterone appeared, reaching 145.7% of baseline. P equals less than 0.01. No regular fluctuation was observed following continuous abstinence after the peak. Ejaculation is the precondition and beginning of the specific periodic serum testosterone level variations, which would not occur without ejaculation. The results showed that ejaculation-caused variations were characterized by a peak of the 7th day of abstinence, and that the effective time of an ejaculation is 7 days minimum. These data are the first to document the phenomenon of periodic change in serum testosterone level. The correlation between ejaculation and periodic change in the serum testosterone and the pattern and characteristics of periodic change. Now, that wasn't too bad of a read. If you guys are still with me, again, do your best to focus. There's a good amount of article, maybe like 2 more I want to read to you guys, and I'm going to be recapping some of this stuff is going to be very dense. The terms are going to be like technical jargon, but again, guys, do your best to focus, breathe, get to the end of the video. I want to recap on this a little bit. So I have no reason why, I don't know why this was attractive. This seems very basic, right? Like, meaning they tested 28 people and they didn't really find any fluctuations in the testosterone from like the 2nd to the 5th day. But suddenly on the 7th day, they had a huge peak, a huge surge, right? I don't know out of the 28 how many there was, but I'm assuming it was significant enough to realize that most guys experienced a peak, within the 7th day. Now, the best way to repeat the study is to get a bunch of guys engaged in this practice, but instead of testing them on for a 7-week period, maybe do it for 1 month or 2 months, right? And then track them that way. But again, none of this matters because I want you guys to be their own research. I want you to test this out on yourself, right? Remember what I was talking about, knowing when your testosterone, when your male hormones are the highest? Well, this is how you know. I'll propose an example. I'll propose a case study that you can do on yourself. For 7 days in a row, ejaculate at least once a day, every day for 7 days in a row, minimum once. If you can, push it to 2 or 3 times in a day, okay? Max 3 times, but at least once, okay? I tried to do this on myself before I started my recent semen retention streak. By the 3rd day, I was physically feeling weaker at the gym. My energetic presence wasn't there. My masculinity didn't feel like it was on the same level. Just everything did not feel like it was. And by the 3rd day, I quit. So I couldn't even finish the research, right? I just like, fuck this. This is not worth it. So I know how I feel when my body is physically, energetically, potentially spiritually weak. So mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, I did not feel like I was at my peak, okay? And then it took me over 1 month to start feeling like Super Saiyan again, okay? And then 2 months, I'm past 2 months. I think I'm about to hit 3 now. After 2 months, I finally felt like, okay, now I'm back at my peak form, okay? And I feel higher levels of vigor, higher levels of vitality, higher levels of aggression and anger, not anger, but just what testosterone does to your body, okay? So that's the first research. We're going to have one more that backs us up, but I want to explain to you, right, the characteristics of testosterone so that you know without having to do research or find research to base your experience off of, because this is what testosterone does to your body, okay? Look, read this with me if you want, okay? Testosterone and aggressive behavior in man. The abstract, it says, atavistic residues of aggressive behavior prevailing in animal life determined by testosterone remained attenuated in man and suppressed through familial and social inhibitions. However, it still manifests itself in various intensities and forms, from thoughts, anger, verbal aggressiveness, competition, dominance behavior to physical violence. Testosterone plays a significant role in the arousal of these behavioral manifestations in the brain centers involved in aggression and on the development of the muscular system that enables their realization. There is evidence that testosterone levels are higher in individuals with aggressive behavior, such as prisoners who have committed violent crimes. Several field studies have also shown that testosterone levels increase during the aggressive phases of sports games. I'm going to pause right there, which is why so many guys enjoy playing sports, football, soccer, basketball, MMA, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, boxing, because it pumps up your male testosterone. I like working out because it pumps up my testosterone, okay? In more sensitive laboratory paradigms, it has been observed that participants' testosterone rise in the winners of competitions, dominance trials, or in confrontations with factitious opponents, or like video games, which is why a lot of guys play video games. Aggressive behavior arises in the brain through interplay between subcortical structures in the amygdala and the hypothalamus, in which emotions are born, and the prefrontal cognitive centers where emotions are perceived and controlled. The action of testosterone on the brain begins in the embryonic stage. Earlier in development, at the DNA level, the number of CAG repeats in the androgen receptor gene seems to play a role in the expression of aggressive behavior. Neuroimaging techniques in adult males have shown that testosterone activates the amygdala, enhancing its emotional activity and its resistance to prefrontal restraining control. This effect is opposed by the action of cortisol, which facilitates prefrontal area cognitive control and the impulsive tendency aroused from the subcortical structures. Okay, so I know a lot of guys are probably getting lost with this, or potentially, because there's a lot of technical jargon here, right? So I'm not going to finish reading the rest of this, but essentially what it's saying is that testosterone has been linked or associated with male dominance, aggression, right? Now, I want to share with you a quick story for any of you guys who got lost during this. So again, remember, do your best to focus, go out for a walk, breathe, bring your attention back into the room, back into your body, feel yourself, feel your eyeballs, feel your toes, and just breathe. We'll get through this, okay? I want to share with you guys a quick story to kind of encapsulate some of this and how I know my testosterone is high at certain times, right? So when I go to the gym, right? So for example, when you're playing a sport, you'll notice sometimes you feel more aggressive. Sometimes you feel like more like dominating your opponent, right? That's why guys like to fight. They want to show who's the alpha male, right? They want to be like, fuck you, I'm better, right? That's like right now, right? So I'm trying to show you right now what that feels like. And most guys have it. You just need to put yourself in the environment, the situation, to bring out the testosterone within you. But again, you have to have a good diet. You have to have a good sleep in order for this to really express itself in the highest degree. So back to the story. I've been training for over a decade at the gym, okay? And I get really into my workouts. I do my breath work, I'm breathing, and I'm literally operating at a different frequency, at a higher frequency, okay? Now, I don't want to use the term alpha because, you know, it's a highly stigmatized term, but if you look at the frequencies, right, I am operating at an alpha state, okay? I'm not claiming to be an alpha male or a sigma male or whatever, but when I'm doing my deep breathing and I'm in the moment and I'm closing my eyes and I'm really feeling myself, I'm emitting a certain vibrational frequency that everyone in the room can feel, okay? And I say this because I've done it for so long where it's like I can sense it, I can tell, right? I can feel when people are staring. I know what's going on in the room because it's like Michael Jordan on the basketball field, right? They say he was in the zone. He was operating at a different level. Like when he was in the room, everyone just knew. Because I've done it for so long, I've ingrained within my body the state of flow. I've ingrained inside my body the feelings of just confidence, of groundedness, calm presence. And in my brainwaves, everything is literally operating at an alpha frequency. And it might even go higher too. I don't know what's the next one, gamma or whatever, when I'm in deep meditation at the gym. And then I promise you, right? Sometimes there's guys that come in and they feel threatened, right? There are alpha males. There were legit, like everyone knows when an alpha male comes into the room, right? I'm gonna fix this. If the mic, sometimes the mic, I plugged in my mic and now sometimes the audio's out of sync. So if the audio's out of sync, just listen and don't worry about the screen, okay? But essentially what I'm saying is some guys, sometimes an alpha male will show up, right? Everyone knows when an alpha male comes into the room, okay? We all know this, okay? Guys feel it, women feel it. Guys can recognize who has alpha characteristics, alpha tendencies. There's guys who try to fake it, who try to puff themselves up, and they're all like, yeah, I'm big and bad. But when an alpha male truly shows up in the room, you know, okay? And sometimes I'm working out and then I go for a walk and then there's like a beautiful girl in my vicinity and then another alpha male comes into the room or like comes into the vicinity because he's trying to work out next to her. And then I come back from my walk and I sense like his presence and I sense that he's like threatened, right? Because when there's like a power trip, there's like subconscious sizing up, you know, all this shit going on. Like I'm telling you guys, I'm super intuitive and like I'm calibrated in terms of my nervous system. So I know what's going on. And I can sense that this guy's threatened and all of a sudden he'll start, you know, like trying to show his aggression and like work out harder. And it's like, bro, calm the fuck down, man. You don't know who you're fucking with, right? So when I sense that he's trying to like out alpha me or he's trying to like dominate me, because again, testosterone and aggressive behavior. And there's research studies where guys will act up. Guys will become more, testosterone will get released when they're in the presence of a female. So I can sense that he's acting more like a monkey. So I diffuse the situation. I out alpha them, right? I do it energetically, meaning instead of focusing on him and wasting my energy on trying to like compete with him, what I do is I breathe that energy even more because my body knows that he's trying to compete, right? And I like the saying, it's like, no one can compete with me because I don't compete. Or there was a quote that my ex posted. It's like, no one can compete with her because she doesn't compete. And I was like, damn, that's a good one, right? People can't compete with me because I'm not competing, right? It's like, I dominate. So what I do is I breathe and I expand my energy field even further. So I dominate people in an energetic sense. Meaning if they do something that I don't like, or they behave in a way where it's like, I'm not happy with their actions, right? Sometimes I'll say something, most of the times I don't, but I like amp up the intensity in my body. Like I amp up my energy and I like almost like this aggressive, like, you know, this mood just comes out of nowhere. And it's like, I don't even have to say a word and people can feel that something has shifted, right? So then that's when they kind of back off a little bit and then they'll go somewhere else. It's hella funny, right? But what I'm trying to show with you is like, maybe that's when testosterone gets pumped out through my body because I have a high amount of total testosterone, and then the free testosterone causes me to maneuver my body in a more physically dominant stance. I become more aggressive. Like my behavior, it just leaks out of my physiology, meaning there are certain guys who try to fuck with me at the gym, right? Like they see I'm enjoying myself. They see like I'm lifting well. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to toy me, right? They come ask me for like a spot. It's like, bro, out of the 100, like there's a fuck ton of guys around you. There's so many guys in the gym and you're asking me for a spot. Like I get it. Some guys are like, oh dude, you're reading too much into this. And it's like, no, bro, I know when a guy is trying to fuck with me. Okay. It's like, you know, there's guys out there, like they sense that they're trying to, like they're threatened by your presence. They'll ask you to do something or they'll fuck with you, man. They'll try to tool you. So it's like, I know when guys are trying to fuck with me. So just trust my word for this. So like when they ask me to spot, it's like, no, bro, like fuck off. You know, like I ask someone else. I literally tell them to ask someone else because I know their intentions. Like I know I spot people when I know their intentions are sincere. When they're this big buff dude and they're like looking around about to lift like 3 or 4 plates and then they see me in the zone, getting it, attractive, you know, magnetic, do my thing. And they want some of that energy. What they do is they'll, hey, bro, can you spot me? I'm like, no, man, ask someone else, you know? So what I do is I dominate people in an energetic sense. But what I'm trying to share with you here is like, we kind of got off the path. It's like the behaviors that testosterone will do for you is on another level. And a lot of this is because I'm on semen retention. A lot of this is because my aura, my energetic field is I'm literally carrying alpha energy, right? I may not necessarily be your typical alpha male, but I exude a different level of energy. And I talk about divine masculinity in another video. So if you want to check that out, please watch it. But I'm going to read you one more thing about testosterone and dominance in men so that you have a better understanding of what I'm talking about. Okay. So the abstract here, this one's a little bit easier to read. So again, if you're losing yourself or you're losing me here, breathe, focus, we're almost there. Okay. So it's this: testosterone and dominance in men. Abstract. In men, high levels of endogenous testosterone, T, seem to encourage behavior intended to dominate, to enhance one's status over other people. Sometimes dominant behavior is aggressive, its apparent intent being to inflict harm on another person, but often dominance is expressed non-aggressively. Now we'll break down dominance a little bit more, right? Sometimes dominant behavior takes the form of antisocial behavior, including rebellion against authority, and it says low breaking, but I think what they meant is law breaking, okay? Measurement of T at a single point in time, presumably indicative of a man's basal T level, predicts many of these dominant or antisocial behaviors. T not only affects behavior, but also responds to it. The act of competing for dominant status affects male T in levels in two ways. First, T rises in the face of a challenge, as if it were an anticipatory response to impending competition, which, again, I just shared with you a story, which we're about to go down a little bit more. Second, after competition, T rises in the winners and declines in the losers. Thus, there is a reciprocity between T and dominance behavior, each affecting the other. We contrast a reciprocal model in which T levels is variable, acting as both cause and effect behavior, with a basal T model in which T levels assume to be persistent trait that influences behavior. Okay, so anyways, the last part doesn't really go into what I'm trying to talk about. Okay, so again, this one talks about testosterone and its effects on your dominance. That's why we see alpha males who are dominant or domineering, they're intimidating, okay? Why is this intimidating? Because you have to understand what testosterone does to your body. It causes you to become more assertive, causes you to become more aggressive, and it causes you to have more dominant behavior. That's why women like dominant men. They like dominant behavior because it shows that they have high levels of male testosterone. If you have high levels of male testosterone in your body, the chances of you wanting to compete and beat out other men are much higher, right? That's why when I was talking to you about the story, right here, it says this: T not only affects behavior, but also responds to it. The act of competing for dominant status affects male T in two ways. First, T rises in the face of a challenge, as if it were an anticipatory response to impending competition. And then second, after competition, T rises in winners and declines in losers. So when I was talking to you about when I was working out, right? And then sometimes there are legit alpha males that come into the room or like come into the vicinity and try to challenge me, right? Or, you know, they feel like threatened and they start to act more like this, right? Because there's other studies that I'll read in future videos where men are more likely to, I forgot what the exact research was, like men with high levels of testosterone are more likely to exhibit aggressive behavior or something like that. I can't fucking remember. But basically what I'm trying to say here is like this: the more testosterone you have in your body, the more you want to show your dominance and compete with other men, right? And you can see this in a fight. You can see this in UFC. You can see this in boxing. What do guys do? Like, I'll fuck you up, right? We'll see when we step in the ring. I'll fuck you up, right? I'll put your ass to sleep. What are they doing? They're trying to show them that, like, no, I'm the man. I'm the dog, right? And then in the video, where the alpha omega male, I talk about, you know, what determines who determines a winner? What determines who the actual alpha is, right? And in Paul Rodney Turner's article, The Alpha Omega Male, he talks about what determines the alpha, and it's the spiritedness within the person. Because if you have two guys of equal status, of equal caliber, equal levels of testosterone, male aggression, etc., and they're fighting, who determines the winner? Well, who has the most spirit? Who wants it more? Who's willing to stay in the fight and really dog it out, right? He talked about it's not the dog in the fight, it's the fight within the dog, Meaning it's not the size of the dog, because sometimes you'll have two dogs, one small chihuahua or one big ass dog. But if that chihuahua is like set down on like going berserker on this big dog, you know, we all know those tiny dogs, like, right? They're fierce. You'll see a lot of tiny guys like Alexander Volkanovski, right? They have the spirit. They have the inner, like, they have that inner knowing, that inner self-confidence that exudes, right? I'm the alpha. I'm the big dog, right? I'm the shit. And you can't, like, when you come from a different level of like vibration and just knowingness of who you are, your spirit, when two people come together, there's going to be automatically sizing up. And then deep down inside, whoever has a stronger conviction in their reality will become acknowledged as the alpha. But what I'm trying to share is when two guys come in the room, they all try to like out alpha each other. They try to dominate each other for what? To show, right, who has the real, who's the better man, right? And I think this is natural. I think this is normal. And I think when you understand this concept, if you work on yourself the most, if you want to truly become alpha, again, watch that video. But if you truly want to become alpha, it's about becoming the best version of yourself. Because if we look at Mahatma Gandhi, if you look at these spiritual gurus, right? We look at these guys like Sadhguru or stuff like that, or even who's a power now, Eckhart Tolle or Martin Luther King. They don't fit your standard definition of alpha male, but they have the spiritedness, right? They're the alpha and the omega. They're the man of God. They're divine masculinity. They're the alpha and the omega. So they exhibit alpha, beta, gamma, delta, whatever the fuck there is out there. They exemplify it all because they are a full stacked man. They don't really compete, right? They don't come in the room and be like, I'm an alpha male, fuck you, right? No. What exudes from them, their spirit, is levels above the typical alpha male. And which is why they had so much power in leading. Martin Luther King, who is the other guy, the South African Mandela, right? Nelson Mandela. These guys are not your typical alpha males, but you can't deny that they are an alpha, right? They unlocked the highest version of themselves, the best version of themselves. So when you put guys like that in a room full of guys, even the standard typical alpha male has to acknowledge their spiritedness, what they have done, what they have accomplished, what they have achieved, right? They literally change the direction of mankind. They led men, groups of men, male and female. They impacted generations to come. So what I'm trying to share here is not exactly about testosterone and, semen retention, but a lot of guys talk about wanting to be alpha and like wanting to be, this and that and X and Y and Z. But if you just focused on becoming the best version of yourself, you will naturally exhibit all of these behaviors, all of these characteristics, because in order for you to be the best version of yourself, the highest, the strongest version of yourself, you do need to be more assertive. You do need to be able to speak up. You do need to be able to show a fair bit of dominance and aggression. And all of this relates to your hormones, relates to your values, relates to your mission, your vision, your purpose in life. So it's multifaceted, but I'm just sharing with you one aspect, and then we'll tie everything all together, okay? So let's read one more article. I know I'm kind of going on little tangents, so I hope you're following along. We should be almost there, so make sure you're breathing, focusing. This is the last thing I'm going to talk about, and then we'll get back to NoFap and Semen Retention, right? This is where it backs up abstinence and testosterone, okay? So endocrine response to masturbation-induced orgasm in healthy men following a 3-week sexual abstinence. Abstract. This current study examined the effect of a 3-week period of sexual abstinence on the neuroendocrine response to masturbation-induced orgasm. Hormonal and cardiovascular parameters were examined in 10 healthy adult men during sexual arousal and masturbation-induced orgasms. Blood was drawn continuously and cardiovascular parameters were constantly monitored. This procedure was conducted for each participant twice, both before and after a 3-week period of sexual abstinence. Plasma was subsequently analyzed for concentrations of adrenaline, noradrenaline, cortisol, prolactin, luteinizing hormone, and testosterone concentration. Orgasm increased blood pressure, heart rate, plasma catecholamines and prolactin. Know the fuck that is. These effects were observed both before and right after sexual abstinence. In contrast, although plasma testosterone was unalterated by orgasm, higher testosterone concentrations were observed following the period of abstinence. These data demonstrate that acute abstinence does not change the neuroendocrine response to orgasm, but does produce elevated testosterone levels of testosterone in males. Now, that is powerful, and I think there was actually one more article that I wanted to read in terms of like porn, right? And how porn, let's see, from China study, there we go. This is China. So actually I lied. One more, and then we'll go over this. Okay, so I'll just show you this article, and then we'll go read the thing, the abstract. Okay, so this study aimed to investigate the situation. Okay, actually, so let's read the title first. Pornography use could lead to addiction and was associated with reproductive hormone levels and semen quality. So this one's slightly different. Okay, so abstract. This study aimed to investigate the situations of pornography use among male college students of China to explore the addiction possibility for pornography use and to study the associations between pornography use and reproductive hormone levels and semen quality. 568 participants met the inclusion criteria and finished all of the questionnaires and hormone level and semen parameter examinations. A majority of participants, except one, had pornography use experience. 94 points. So out of 568, only one said that he did not use pornography. Fucking crazy. 94.2% participants started pornography use before college, and 95.9 participants reported that they had masturbation experience when using pornography. Early contact to pornography, frequent pornography use, high amount of time spending on pornography use, and frequent masturbation during pornography use were correlated with addiction trends. Early pornography use was found to be associated with low serum prolactin, follicle stimulating hormone, and progesterone, as well as lower sperm concentration and total sperm count. Higher frequency of pornography use was associated with lower serum estrogen. In conclusion, pornography use was common among male college students in China. Early contact, high frequent use, and high frequency of masturbation during pornography use could lead to addiction trends and aberrant reproductive hormone levels and semen quality. So that was slightly different. That talks about how excessive pornography and masturbation fucks with your reproductive hormones. Again, not surprised. But what was this recent one about the endocrine response to masturbation-induced orgasm in healthy men following 3 week sexual abstinence? Basically, what they showed here is that after a 3-week period, it shows that, right, the abstinence does not change the neuroendocrine response to orgasm, but does produce elevated levels of testosterone in men. So after a 3-week period of sexual abstinence, they did notice elevated levels of testosterone in men. Okay. Now this study has not been retracted, so you can read all this shit on your own. There's all the other stuff you can go down the rabbit hole of, but let's bring this all to a landing. What does this all even mean? Okay. When you do NoFap and Semen Retention, what I'm proposing with you here is when you're doing it correctly, meaning you're working out, your diet's good, you're doing breath work, you're doing everything that I'm teaching, right? Especially if you haven't checked out my program, Sexual Transmutation, all the links down below, is that you'll notice that your behavior starts to change. You'll notice that your characteristics start to change. You'll notice that you become more aggressive and dominant, right? Because before I started this recent streak, and I tried to do the 3 days, the 7 days of consecutive fapping. And by the third day, I made it to by the third day where I busted my nut consecutively, I made it to the gym. I did not feel the same way I feel now. Meaning my energetic presence wasn't there, which probably has nothing to do with testosterone, but it might have. But my male aggression definitely was not there. I didn't feel as confident. I didn't feel like I was as grounded and present within my body. Meaning I didn't feel like my force field, my magnetic field, my aura was as big, as potent, as bright as it was as when I'm on it. And I'm going to do a video in the future where I talk about the timeline. But when I came back from China and had to reset my streak, the first week I was feeling weak. I was feeling just like chaotic. Like my energy was all over the place. And then about week 2, I was like, okay, I'm starting to feel like it's starting to finally build up. Okay, my energy is starting to come back, right? And then after 1 month, it's like, okay, finally, I'm starting to recover where I was. Like, I'm finally making it back to where I was starting. And then it wasn't until like 2 months in where I'm like, for certain, okay, I have it all written down. I documented how I felt, but it was very clear that I was feeling weak, ungrounded, out of place. And then at least 1 month in or 2 months in, when I starting to feel super sane again, I remember specifically writing my note. It's like, oh, I finally feel like myself again. And when I say I'm finally feeling like myself again, I'm talking about my most confident, my most dominant, my most assertive form, right? Goku, regular form, and then Super Saiyan, higher form, okay? That's the easiest way to think about NoFap and semen retention. When you have more life force within your body, when you have more Jing, more Chi, more Prana, you cannot help but have a stronger magnetic field. You cannot help but have more higher functioning cells within your body. Because if you look at the 7 dhatus within the Ayurvedic system, the 7 elements, the 7 structures, the 7 layers of the body, right? If I remember this correctly, it goes from food, right? What you eat, that's the first thing. Food turns into plasma, into blood, into fat. So like that's the layer it goes in, right? Your food gets converted into plasma. Plasma gets turned into blood. Blood gets turned into muscle. Whatever doesn't get utilized within the blood and the food, or within the blood and the muscle, gets stored as fat, and then bone, and then marrow, and then finally sperm, semen, reproductive organs. And then after that, the 8th layer is actually ojas, spiritual energy, right? Your radiance. So it goes from food, plasma, blood, muscle, fat, bone, bone marrow, sperm, reproductive organs, seminal fluid, and then ojas, right? In the Chinese tradition, they talk about Jing, your densest form of energy, Qi, and then Shen. Jing, your densest form of energy, is synonymous to Virya in the Ayurvedic system, synonymous to your sexual energy, your sexual energy, right? Jing, Virya, right? Your vital essence, your masculine essence. Jing, Qi, and Shen. So liquid, solid, liquid, gas. Jing, Qi, and Shen. Solid is like, think of ice, liquid as water, the fluidity, and then Qi as in steam, ether, gas, right? I'll post some pictures up so you know what I'm talking about. So when you have an abundance of Jing, you'll have an abundance of Qi, and you'll have abundance of Shen. So if you're storing high quality energy within your body, you're eating quality food, you are working out, your body on each layer of its body, right? From the food you eat down to the plasma, blood, muscle, fat, bone, marrow, etc. All of these layers of your body, because you're not leaking it at the 8th layer or the 7th layer, you're not leaking sperm out. Each layer of your body, each element, each cell in your body is invigorated with life force energy. You literally have more life within you because you're not ejaculating, you're not wasting it. So what does your body do when you have more energy within your body? And on top of that, you're working out and you're eating properly. Well, it's like almost like you can put this together. You naturally have higher levels of testosterone. You naturally have higher levels of male hormones, and you'll have a boost within everything in your body because, again, energy, sexual energy, it is the foundation of your being. When your mom and your dad got together, the sperm met the egg, and that process of life began, what happened? Well, sexual energy came together. There's a force that animates all that, but that process requires energy. That's why when your mom is raising the baby, what is it doing? She's feeding it. That food and whatever is in her body, whatever energy reserves gets stored, gets formed, and then it creates the baby, right? So if you're not constantly wasting your energy and you're not constantly ejaculating, your body now has a newfound abundance of energy reserves on board that it can use for any process. It could use for rebuilding muscle. It can use for growing out hair. It could use for increasing your drive, your masculinity, because there's more energy within you wanting to express itself, right? It's a very similar, very simple concept. And you honestly don't need research to back this up because you can test it on yourself, right? Go a period of 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, etc., and document what has changed within my body. Because I can assure you, semen retention not only increases your testosterone, but it also increases your mental, emotional well-being, maybe your serotonin, maybe your dopamine, because you're not fucking watching porn all the time. Maybe it'll increase your neurotransmitter profile, right? Your GABA, your acetylcholine, right? Maybe it increases your skin health, your vibrancy, your vitality, because in the Ayurvedic system, right, the yogic science, they talk about how the tree, right, extracts rasa from the body or from the earth. And similarly, the body extracts rasa from the ovaries or the testes, right? It extracts the jing and it uses it for other things. So when you have an abundance of jing building up within your body, instead of ejaculating it, it gets used and converted into other things. One of it being higher levels of testosterone, which is why so many boxers talk about jumping in the gym or abstaining from sex for multiple weeks before jumping into the ring and fighting, because they're charged up with sexual energy. They're amplified with abundance of male vigor and vitality. Okay. Now, again, guys, I pretty much shared all the things that I wanted to share, but the best way to experience this yourself is to do it yourself. If you're one of those guys who are on the fence or you're like, oh, NoFap is bullshit and stuff like that, my question is, have you even tried it? Have you even done it? And not just done it, have you done it properly? Because I can assure you, when you're doing NoFap and semen retention properly, meaning you're eating correctly, you're not eating a bunch of McDonald's and shitty foods where you're poisoning your body and fucking up your sexual energy. When you're eating properly, when you're doing breath work, pranayama, you're opening up your nadis, you're opening up your meridian system, right? And you have a mission, a vision, a higher purpose in life. You're working out vigorously, strength and conditioning, right? When you pair NoFap and semen retention with all these activities, I can't even explain to you the levels of masculine drive, the levels of masculine essence you have. You'll have higher levels of testosterone and so much more. Like I can't even convey how good you'll feel, right? The levels of well-being that you feel when you're on it is like on a different level. You know that scale of consciousness chart where it's like you have apathy and fear and guilt and shame at the bottom. And then once you get into the flow, you go into like acceptance, you'll go into like desire or maybe even anger or like willingness, neutrality, courage, etc. And then you go one level above that. And that's when you're entering like transcendence. You're starting to feel love, joy, peace, bliss, happiness. I'll film a video on the benefits of NoFap and semen retention, but I know when I'm like peaking in terms of my benefits is when I'm just like feeling joy out of nowhere, right? Literally in the mornings, like it bugs my brother. I make these random ass noises and like these joyous noises. And like, I'm being like such a kid and I'm pissing off my brother because he's like low vibe right now. He's low vibe. And I'm like high vibe. Like I'm vibrating. I'm like high vibe. You know what I'm saying? Like, what does it mean to be high frequency? It just means like you're operating at a very high frequency, like, right? And I can't help that because there's so much energy within my body wanting to express itself. On contrast, think about a guy who doesn't get enough sleep. Think of a guy who's depressed, right? Think of a guy who's slow and sluggish, anxious and stressed. What is that? That's slow, sluggish, chaotic, and like fucked up energy, right? But instead of having an erection, right? An erection like a hard boner, I talk about how I have an erect dash shen, meaning shen in the Chinese tradition is spirit, right? Jing qi shen. My spirit is burning so bright. My aura, my magnetic field, right? The animating force within my body, it's so present and powerful. Why? Because I have a lot of life expressing itself through me. I'm at a high frequency. So that high frequency influences my behavior, influences my actions, influences my speech, the way I talk, the way I present myself, the way I articulate myself. It makes me work out harder. And what does that do when I work out harder? If I work out harder, I get more gains. I get more gains. What does that do? I have higher levels of testosterone in my body. So NoFap and semen retention influences your behavior, influences your vibrational frequency, influences your endocrine system, which are your hormones, your male hormones. Those influence your behavior to do more things. So it's like the winner effect, right? Which I'll make another video on in the future. It's how NoFap and semen retention causes you to engage in behaviors because there's more masculine essence, more drive flowing through you, pushing you to do something, whether it be achieving greater heights as an artist, as a rapper, as a dancer. You get better results. You either want to compete more, you want to create more, and then that better results causes you to win. The winner effect elicits higher levels of testosterone. If you look this up, when you win, people's testosterone go up. So it creates this upward spiral of winning. You get me? And winning is correlated to testosterone. So NoFap and semen retention indirectly also increase your testosterone because you engage in the behavior and activities that cause you to win at life. It causes you to progress. It causes you to become higher level. Okay? So this is the power of NoFap and semen retention. And I know some of these studies, we took a lot of time, but that's all I wanted to share, guys. Stay tuned. I got more stuff. And before you click off, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Drop some comments down below if you have any questions or what you enjoyed the most out of this, any breakthroughs that you have. Help boost the algorithm. If you want to see more of my stuff, subscribe to my channel, right? Turn on the notifications so you get notified when I create more of these videos. I'm going to talk a lot about NoFap and semen retention, sexual transmutation. In the future, I'll share stuff on posture and how to optimize your life. Okay, so congratulations for making all the way to the end. I do want to plug my stuff. If you are on NoFap and semen retention or struggling, I want you to check out my program, Sexual Manifestation. You can check out the free version of it. You can understand and educate yourself on the energetic systems, why you get more energy, why you become more attractive, just really understand it on a basic foundational level, the framework of it. You can see some examples of nature. You want to check out my masterclass that's 2 hours long. Seeing that you have watched a video this long means that you don't have trouble focusing, that you probably enjoy educating yourself. So I highly encourage you to check out the masterclass. I give examples of high-level, successful individuals, entrepreneurs, mostly athletes though, who have used NoFap and semen retention and sexual abstinence, sexual transmutation before their fights to win their fights, to become more aggressive, more dominant, right? Because that's within men, to charge themselves up to fight, right? So check out the masterclass. It's 2 hours long. Join the Facebook group, Sexual Transmutation Mastery. If you haven't already, post some savage memes. If you want to work with me one-on-one, get coaching, sign up, book a call, apply to work with me. Again, this is not a cheap investment, but it'll be the best investment that you'll make. And last but not least, my course that I really want people to experience and get is Sexual Manifestation. The essence of sexual manifestation, sexual transmutation is once you've built up, once you've had an abundance of sexual energy within your body, from not fapping off and not wasting it, what ends up happening is that energy builds up and permeates every cell of your being, and it seeks expression in your own unique individual way. The essence of sexual manifestation is allowing energy to build up in your body, causing you to become a sexual man, and then that energy then manifests itself in either thoughts, ideas, actions, visions, right? People, places, or things you want to experience. That energy will find a way to express itself. And that is the essence of sexual manifestation. In that course, I teach you breathing techniques, right? How to restore the breathing, things that you can do to overcome sexual desire right then and there. Meaning, instead of when you get sexual urges and bust your nut or want to turn on some porn site, I teach you how to breathe that energy and dissipate that sexual desire so that you can transmute sexual energy into spiritual energy. And the more you do that, the more you open up your energetic pathways, the more radiant, more magnetic you become. And there's no science that will back this up, but I can assure you, if you're sensitive, if you resonate with what I'm telling you, you will become more magnetic, more vibrant, more vital. People will sense your energy from miles away. You'll become a higher version of yourself. So I'll teach you ancient breathing techniques to transmute sexual energy, to sublimate sexual urges. I'll teach you training principles so that you can maximize your muscle growth, how to have striated muscles, how to improve your sexual hormone production through diet, through training, the glowing skin protocol, right? The diet protocol is probably by far the most extensive, right? What to eat for the highest levels of testosterone, sleeping principles so that you can optimize your sleep, how to program your subconscious mind so that you can have the results that you want in life and not keep repeating the same bullshit behaviors. So much, man. Balancing your chakras, how to make better decisions, right? How to prioritize your day. There's so much in that video or so much in that program. Check out the free version. I'll go over the course overview so that you know what you're getting into. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope I didn't lose most of you guys with the research study. I know not too much of it kind of correlates to why testosterone increases by this amount through masturbation. Just trust me on this. When you do it properly, when you're engaging on the lifestyle practices that I share, your male hormones will go through the roof. You will feel more like a man. I guarantee it. Just trust my word for it. You don't even have to get my program. Just do it yourself. Okay? Trust me. You will feel better. This is what most men are lacking nowadays. It's the masculine drive. It's the masculine essence. It's that male vigor and vitality that penetrates the world. Except most guys are wasting it on porn, throwing it into a napkin, into a sock or whatever they use. What I'm advocating here is preserve that. I made a video recently on stop wasting your semen. Watch that too. Stop wasting it. Allow the energy to build up within your body to drive you to greater heights. Okay? Use that dragon of sexual energy to take you somewhere. And with that, I conclude this video. Again, thank you. Subscribe to the channel, like, comment, share, etc. Have a good one. Peace.